Okay, guys, we are going into a new landscape. It is middle of November. We're going into Thanksgiving, and the big question is, should I make a real estate transaction right now to, am I going to pick up the cranberry sauce? Who's cooking the turkey? Families coming into town. So we are in a shift of sorts, going into the holiday season where sometimes it makes sense to list your home. Sometimes it quite frankly doesn't make sense. So my point in all this is try not to time the market, rather make the decision that makes sense for you specifically. Now, there's a lot of arguments out there that are saying, if I put my house on the market, there's going to be less buyers. However, they're going to be more serious, which is totally true. Additionally, the people that are out looking for homes right now are going to be different than the people that are looking for homes in the springtime. So are you going to miss the buyers that are out there right now if you held it off the market? It's not like the buyers that are out there right now are waiting for your home to pop on the market. They're anxious, they're excited. I get it. But what I don't recommend you do is that you try to time it again, because the buyers that are out there are anxious to get a home. They are looking for a home, and they're not going to wait until the grass is greener, or the Super Bowl is over, or the sun comes out for the summer for your house to pop on. So there's kind of this counter argument on, do I wait and put it on the market, say in the spring, early summer, or do I put it on the market now? And there's a lot of variable factors. Is your house vacant right now where it's just sitting and you're paying a mortgage on it up until the grass gets green? If you're living in there right now and you're comfortable, statistically, I'm going to show you by data why it may make sense to wait. But if you're paying a mortgage for the next 6 months and it's costing you money to have the house just sit there, then obviously don't wait until the springtime. What I will say is that homes sell every day of the year, every week of the year, every month of the year. Statistically, there's going to be more competition in the springtime, which could, play to your favor. Maybe it might hinder your favor. If there's 10 homes that people are looking at in the springtime, but there's only one available right now or two available, I mean, your odds are going to be much higher now than it will be in the springtime. Now, this is specifically just for sellers. And buyers is a totally different situation there. But if you have a financial decision, or you got a job relocation, or you want to make a shift sooner than later, you have to do what's right for you, and try not to use these external factors as a guide for your decision making progress, because we have no idea what's going to happen, economically speaking, from a consumer confidence perspective. There's a lot of external factors that really sway people's mindsets and perception, primarily because they want clarity in the decision making progress. And without that clarity, without some sort of foresight or some sort of confidence, people retract naturally, right? We all do. If we don't know what's going to happen in the future, we tend not to make big decisions. So, for us to wait, say the springtime, it might not always be wise. But again, my point in all this is to make sure that you're making the right decision for you on your timeline, because an asteroid could come in and cause chaos in the springtime, and it just, it interrupts your entire plan. Now, again, going back to the variables, there's a lot, and a lot of it depends on kind of the house that you have. Is this a first time home buyer house? Is this a move up buyer? Is this maybe a downsizer that is moving from a bigger house to a smaller house? again, a lot of variables just dependent on what your situation is. And I'm really trying to nail down the point that everybody's specific needs are different. And to try to time this in a grand sense, might not make sense because it may cost you to hold on to it. Come springtime, if everybody has this idea that they're going to list, beginning of April, uh, that means there's a ton more competition. That means that there's more buyers out there that have more choices. And is that going to net you the most money? It may not. Now, statistically speaking, I'm going to show you exactly what I'm talking about. Now, from a general sense, here in Montana, it's normally snowing right about now, middle of November, and things slow way down. Days on market go longer, median list prices go lower, but there's always buyers out there. Again, homes will sell every day. So just keep that in mind. But let's look at the data just so I could show you statistically year by year what that looks like. Okay, so let me show you what is going on from a median list price. We are in November, and this just kind of gives you an idea. So right here we are at November of 22, and this is median list price. It hovers right around 449, 440, 450, and then we jump over to the next year, 469, and then the next year 449, and then right now we're at 455. So you could see this trend here in November kind of dips down. Okay, now this is why this data is so important. Let's jump over to days on market. Now typically we are going to see an increase in days on market from now up until about February, March. Okay, and this trend is very cyclical here. So every November, we start to see these days on market climb up to the peak in March and then start to come down in April, May, June, July. Okay, again, very, very cyclical here. Inventory wise, we see this, this was obviously in COVID, but the inventory climbs up because the days on market are longer. So, we're seeing the highest level of inventory. Once the days on market go down, the inventory drops. Highest level of inventory come November, okay? Because that's when people are kind of getting settled in for the holidays. Now, as far as properties with price decreases, you could see the trend every November kind of peaks right now. So people are trying to get their home sold, and mixed with the days on market, mixed with the median list price, they always kind of peak right around this time frame. So I don't want to talk anybody out of selling in November, of course, but what I'm saying is that this data tells us some very clear information as to how cyclical the market is despite all these other factors that are playing into it. I hope this provides a bit of clarity just so you can make an educated decision, again, based on your factor, okay? So the world doesn't stop until springtime comes. There's always buyers out there. And the ones right now, it could be debated that they are a bit more serious. If they're willing to trek through snow, you're not going to have a bunch of looky-loos like you will in the springtime. So I hope you find this valuable for what it's worth, and hope you have a great day.